Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the LCS and the LCS waiting room. You are lucky you just missed the grossest pre-show conversation we've ever had in our lives.
I didn't know we were starting, so
exactly. You got spared by seconds there at home. As you can tell, we've got Azael joining us for the initial part of waiting room. Today's gonna look a little bit different. We've only got a couple topics to hit. Azael's in for the very first one, and then we're gonna move on and preview the biggest matchup of the day, probably the biggest matchup of the split, TL and C9. Let's kick things off straight away. Talking about caster duo names. Thomas says, which caster duo would have the best celebrity couple name? So we obviously already have one of them, which is the Doug duo, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to bring you on. Not only to get your opinion on Doug duo as a name, because I feel like you and Freak perhaps have different opinions of the caster, the celebrity couple name.
Well, Freak loves it for sure.
Yeah, he does.
Freak came up with it. And then just decided he was going to say it so many times until people basically were just like guilted into also adopting it. And that's kind of where we're at with it right now. I'm just like,
syndrome.
Well, I guess I'm part of the Doug duo, you know? It's kind of where I am.
You always have to find the worst iteration of names. Like, there was one time I think I had a cast with Atlas and we needed to find a name. One of the options, Ratless. Send that out there.
We need to cast it. It could be Azael. That's kind of cool.
Azael is pretty good.
Like, that's kind of good one.
So here, your name goes with so much.
Yes.
I was gonna say Raz is probably pretty good for a lot of them.
You learn play-by-play, so you can do everything.
What we did is we put together a quick little collage of a number of different duos that we've had throughout the split. There may be more, but we did our with Azael. See, that's the thing, right? So LeTigress and Azael. Azael is pretty good.
Mark. I like that.
Captain Flowers and Mark is a Captain Mark, right? It's interesting because obviously the easy way to go is just to take the two names and try and find a way to smash them together.
People call Captain Flowers and I Bronze Boys and stuff a lot.
Right, so I was gonna say the other option is to do something that encapsulates your personality or the dynamic between the two of you. For example, I know Freak has been pushing for frat and or fat. For him and Jat,
a lot.
Which I'm not sure which one of those I even would want to go to. Yes, with the PH, of course. But I don't know. Of all of these up here, let's answer the question: which duo would have the best celebrity couple name, and what is it?
Ooh.
This is a lot of pressure because they didn't just say like come up with the best for this one. They gave us all the same image to work with.
Well, I mean, you all have options, so it's just with like another, we got another minute and a half.
This is totally unrelated.
Verizon bar or something like that.
Totally unrelated to the question, but the facial expressions on this one are pretty golden.
Yeah.
I mean, the pastry frown with the chat, like I don't know. Smelled a fart.
So I would almost. So I'm tempted to say that they should be called. Well, I'll take that image. Pastry time and Jat should be Patty time.
I will just say, camera coming close. This is just hilarious.
Patty time.
Patty time.
Patty time, baby.
This is height difference right here.
I like patty time.
This is just height difference. We need more of this.
Bad. So what do you So what is that? What are we calling that? Is that the Verizon the Verizon signal duo?
Yes, it should be.
The five bars.
Getting the bar.
Full bars. Full bars. 5G. It's the 5G duo. There it is. Mark and LeTigress are now known as 5G.
I was gonna say, I think that was definitely one of their first casts because you can notice that they got Gabby and Applebox in the other one.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can see.
Yeah.
No,
Because I was like, you're.
What happened was I was on an apple box. I was on the apple box.
This is what I always want to do. Is anytime there's an apple box up there, I just want to get on it so my head is out of the frame. You know, just
too much.
Before, I was
It's
curious
too
to
much.
see if my full height is your sitting height.
pretty close.
Quick question: who are you casting with today?
I'm casting the Flowers.
So what is the Azael and Fudge? We have Bronze Boys, right?
That's
like
the only one
affectionate.
I really get. People be like, "Oh, the Bronze Boys are casting stuff like that."
Okay.
That's the only one I really get.
Let's give them a duo name, and then we'll send him off to go prep with Captain Flowers. That is not the Bronze Boys. So how do we want to smash them together?
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is.
People say don't do math on air.
Azael. Like, I just go for the simple one.
Well, Azael is such a good name because it always sounds good as the finisher.
Yes,
you know, the Azael. It always sounds good. So I'm wondering if there's a.
history class.
You can really tell
like
that we're a bunch of creative individuals here. People are just watching this like we all got Fs in our class, you know?
How did we end up in our jobs?
Oh, yeah,
except for Emily, because she's actually a really good artist. All right, we'll workshop it. We'll come up with that. I like Bronze Boys is good.
So we can take your idea.
And we're going to move on to our next topic.
All I'm saying, just putting this out there, I don't know of a name, but Flowers looks like a PE teacher. You look like a history teacher. Something has to happen there. Something has to happen. Okay. I don't know what it is. Join it. Junior high school. Look, a lot of people.
Like the break room or something?
Yeah, the break room. I like this.
Teacher's lounge. The teacher's lounge. We're going out to the teacher's lounge for Flowers. All right. Well, then you get your ass to the teacher's lounge. We're going to thank you so much.
I'll take the chair.
Yes, please do. Appreciate it, man. All right. The second topic and the final topic, actually, that we're going to cover in Waiting Room is Champions Queue. First split of Champions Queue is in the books. It finished just last week. So on your screens here is the official leaderboard for that first split, with Jojo Pyun right there at the top of the table, Ole in second place. Obviously, we fill out the rest. That means a solid wad of cash going to a number of those players, and it's good on them. But the other reason why I brought this up is that tomorrow, split 2 of Champions Queue opens back up, so we reset the table, and we look to see who's going to push towards the top again.
I'm excited for that because a fun thing that I like to do is, you know how you can just order them based off of like the LP that they have in the system? I do it in reverse. Who's not playing? Who has the opportunity and hasn't even tried it? So there are a lot of names.
Who's on your wall of shame? Give us a couple names.
Some Cloud9 members.
Cloud9 members?
I'm looking at you, Odd Orange.
Oh,
you, Odd.
Wow. That is a deep cut.
No, but seriously, no, but like, great friend of all, but at the end of the day, like, I think there's a lot of people that now that they've seen like what this split has looked like, you can just straight up dive into it, get in there. And I've seen like, you know, the names of Kumo, who's like spammed a lot of games alongside RJS. Even actually reading one of the posts of RJS is like, oh, he didn't like the idea of just spamming games because of a lot of the times like the mentality behind it, I'm sure. You know, if you're just in the mentality of spamming games, some of them not going to be the best. So I'm interested in that one, just in case they don't fix the MR system and how that works. But
yeah, otherwise you get like the whole GG go next because this game's unwinnable and it's more efficient to get into my next game to get more LP. So like you can understand those metagames. There's also a good reason they set it up that way just to make sure people were playing enough. And I think the first split has been incredibly successful from reception to viewership to pretty much every metric you can hit. So it can only be improved on from here.
Absolutely. Emily, I personally, again, noticing that only 2 of the 10 members on this list are actually starters on the LCS stage here in terms of the final picture. Or actually, I take that back, 3. Sorry, just caught Kumo. I'm personally excited for when one of these names gets like cherry picked out of Champions Queue and gets put onto an academy team or gets put onto an LCS team, and we start to see this work pay off.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it helps with scouting a bit, maybe, because I think scouting can be, we've seen people be really, really good in their evaluations of players, and everyone looks for, you know, different things, but, or have it be like kind of lax. This is yet another tool that you can use to scout players in a really specific environment, which I think is great.
Well, that's going to be it for Waiting Room. Congrats to all of these 10 players who topped the table in Champions Queue, and best of luck to everybody as they dive into split number 2. We're going to go to the show open. When we come back, we're diving into the biggest matchup of the split, breaking that tie for first place between Team Liquid and Cloud9. We'll catch you back here in just a bit.
I would say us and TL are very, very different just because I think TL is very methodical and coordinated.
Down to 100 HP, trying to get himself out, but Bwipo's got the the snipe. He doesn't die either. Bwipo stays alive.
We're sort of, I would say, chaotic and mechanical. We sort of just play fights out to outplay the enemy opponent.
Fire coming around from the side. He opens up and he tries to get right back out. Berserker's going to be controlled, but Inspired's going to be killed.
If they can win against us, maybe we can beat Blaber for this year. But I think they're just like a step ahead right now.
Of course, he already 3v1 Abadaga. Your days are numbered, and that number is 0 and 1 for blood.
Berserker and Winsome is like they're not yet to be the best, but I think Summit is actually ready to be the best in the LCS.
Wow, Summit already popping out 1v1. Summit wins them.
Even if there's no like inherent advantage, he will try to press something. Like, he will try to squeeze water from stone. By nature, because I believe that my teammates are stronger than his, I will almost always try to neutralize him.
The flash play, Bwipo just spots him out of fog and deletes one.
It's just, I'm here to win. And to win, I believe in my teammates to win more than I believe me gapping Summit. Made a better bot lane win.
브이포에게 전하는 저의 메시지는 제가 경기를 함에 있어서 재밌다고 느끼는 게 당신밖에 없으니까 재밌는 경기 했으면 좋겠습니다.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the LCS. Ahead of our biggest matchup of the 2022 Spring Split. It's a clash of titans at the top of the table. 10-2 teams. Team Liquid and Cloud9 do battle to break that tie for first place. It's a battle for sole possession of first place and to create that separation between them in the standings. It's huge from a stakes point of view. Just as we talk about, yes, while these two teams do feel head and shoulders above the rest, Mark, you do want to clearly define yourself as the team to beat.
Yeah, the stakes, you know, first or second, that's all nice. I also think it's a lot about individual stakes. Bwipo versus Summit, you know, Blaber versus Santorin, Berserker versus Hansama. It feels like every single matchup, they're fighting for best in the league in their position, as well as best in the league as a team.
Yeah, this is probably the best match in this split. You've already talked about it earlier on in the waiting room, just because of the fact that there are such rabid fans for both teams, for Cloud9 and for Team Liquid, that they surely believe that there will be champions by the end of this split. So this is going to be the first taste of that.
That's kind of where I want to start the conversation, is the excitement around this matchup from both fan bases, us on the broadcast, the players themselves, the community at large. And Emily, I'm going to pull up a tweet here because the sentiment, obviously, from all different fan bases can be different. But this one coming from Shiny Froki, C9's best chance to beat TL was in week 2. We got Core back, baby. And I think some people do wonder about that. Was the first time around the best opportunity for Cloud9 to beat Team Liquid, as Team Liquid looks to be only stronger with the addition of CoreJJ?
Not at all, because that's not considering the fact that C9 has had time to gel with their lineup. So I think you can see with this specific team in their iteration, they're working together more and they're more well coordinated as the weeks have gone by, which only makes sense because they're, you know, they had less time. They did not have the lock-in, like, grace period, and obviously Core was out as well, so that applies to TL in a slightly different sense. But that's not taking into consideration how much C9 has grown as a team generally.
You're right. You're right about the ramping part for Cloud9, and even more specifically, a lot of the players, it felt like just needed time to acclimate it to North America. Summit really started to pop off around week 4 to 5, right? Like, that's when he started getting solo kills every lane and just having straight lane domination. And so once you started really getting comfortable and not in just the team environment, just the new environment in North America, it's looking pretty damn good for them.
Well, speaking of the return of Core to Team Liquid, he had no shortage of commentary in the Reddit AMA that Team Liquid did ahead of this matchup. Some fun stuff. We just cherry-picked a few comments. I adore this guy.
101%?
101%, baby.
Fudge mid already, so it's probably him. Wow.
I'm really interested in this series, but God, I would love to see Bwipo go mid for a random game. You know,
there it is.
Just floating that idea out there, right? Again, we talk so much about the value, though, that CoreJJ provides to the team, I think both from a morale standpoint, right, but also in terms of direction. And that's been made clear to us through conversations with Bwipo as well. Different looking team with Ayla in than with CoreJJ in, and now they've had time to develop and gel as a roster. But no doubt, this is one of the best players in the league, and when he's confident, I'm worried for the opponents.
Yes. Every interview CoreJJ tends to have, even some of our pre-recorded stuff for the show, where he's like supporting and talking about how good this player is, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, but Bwipo's better. He is just unleashed, and I just love being able to see that from CoreJJ. And going into today's matchup, like I know we're going to talk about it. I feel like he is going to be a huge difference maker here for Team Liquid.
We're going to talk about it. Let's start talking about it. It's only fair that we see exactly how our analysts measure the strengths of both of these teams. So we're bringing back the report card for the first time here in the Spring Split. We challenged all three of our analysts to weight the matchups. So what you're seeing here in the percentage representations is kind of how each analyst would skew the matchup. It's a 60-40 or a 55-45 matchup in favor of the player whose face they are on the side of, or whose side their face is on. Let's go ahead and start with the top lane. Emily, you're the one who goes for Bwipo.
I was going to say, I feel like this is going to get me a lot of flame because I have a feeling that the matchup in terms of laning will be very Summit favored, like with no jungle attention. Especially, and like, so the caveat to this is also that I've seen Summit 1v9 games on Gnar specifically. So if he has Gnar Jace, that's also a little bit of a caveat as well. But I think Bwipo, and looking down all of the things, I think my criteria has a lot more intangibles than the other two. The big thing with Bwipo is what he can bring to, the rest of the team outside of lane. So not only is it he's looking for kind of these weird laning matchups to take his opponent by surprise, but he's also been a key force in a lot of these like game-changing team fights. So even in positions where they get behind, he has a very good game sense and idea of how he wants to approach team fighting with this team.
And what's so interesting about these two players is there's been so much media around their playstyles. Bwipo has said very publicly, I'm about a team player. And Max Waldo was talking about Summit. He's an ego player. He will do suboptimal things, you could argue, to put the other person in the dumpster. And that's such a clash of styles right here. I think Raz and I are on the side of Summit that if you can put someone in the dumpster whenever you want to do it, I'm down for that. I definitely have that preference. I think Bwipo is one of the best players to possibly survive that, but it is this big difference in how they approach the game. And
I would say the only negative hit I would put on Summit was that Gwen game.
Yep.
And everything else has just been wildly positive. And that's been something for Summit. He's willing to take a lot of quote-unquote chances in lane to go for 1v1 kills, and then he just gets them. The funniest thing is that I get the benefit, me and Mark, of just like having the list done before yesterday's game, and then yesterday's game happened where he just absolutely just
popped off,
destroyed the top lane matchup versus Revenge.
So I have a question for the two of you who are on the side of Summit, and it goes kind of back to Emily's point about matchup and some of the caveats that she threw in. But as we just took a look at Bwipo's champion pool, his unique champion picks from this split, you have a lane dominant player who you want to secure a very specific matchup, but you're playing into Bwipo, the guy who's pulled out everything from the Hullbreaker Graves at the beginning of the split to the Shyvana that he was playing, just last week. How do you even begin to evaluate getting Summit the matchup that he wants?
It's just, the sad answer to this is just side selection. Because hearing from Destiny from Immortals, even talking about it, is like their comp, Team Liquid's comp, always makes sense. And so if they're throwing the Lucian topside, here comes the Galio and like the jungler going topside to support him. Even though like Bwipo is dangerous on red side and Team Liquid is always going to support them.
I was going to say, because here's the extra wrench I'll throw in, Mark. TL had side select in this match and they chose red. So in some senses, I feel like that is specifically looking at the top lane.
I think it's interesting as well because you saw the Bwipo champ pool. If you were going to make Summit's effective champ pool, it's like Gnar and like Jace and like, a cup. It's very
There's
small.
a Malphite in there. Come on.
I don't think he's going to pick that again.
No.
He might have played it. I don't know if he's going to play it
not.
again. So I think to that point, red side for Bwipo, I think it's funny because I think Summit's very happy to just take Gnar and say, counter pick me.
Absolutely.
I wonder if TL are going to start banning that stuff to force Summit a little
more
further
volatile
down his
matchup.
priority list of champions.
So I actually, like, again, with all the stuff I said about Bwipo and the fact that I actually still do expect Summit to win lane with no jungle attention, I do think the Gnar is the one champion that you might want to just consider taking out of his hands, because regardless of matchup, he knows the limitations and what he can do on that champion so freaking well.
Yeah, the adaptation this man makes in runes and summoners, going into the last game with Ignite Flash Gnar, the first time I've ever seen that.
Yeah.
And just going above and beyond there into a counter matchup. Yeah, he's going to be happy with that.
Look, we talked about a confident CoreJJ. Bwipo just had the head bops going. I don't know. Team Liquid looks like they are in their comfort zone right now. Emily, you mentioned the fact that you expect Summit to win out in a jungle that gets, or in a matchup that gets no jungle attention. But now I want to fold the junglers into this whole equation, taking another peek back at the list. Mark, you're going in favor of Blaber, where Emily is split down the middle, and Raz a slight favoritism towards Santorin. So I'll start here on the Blaber camp.
All right, I am obviously a Blaber stan. I'll admit it, okay?
Okay.
That
All right, Mark.
out there. But what I'll say about Blaber is he is individually the most dominant jungler in North American history. There are people who have won more. There's people who you could say work better with their teams. You can start putting more caveats on there. But in terms of individual playmaking, this is the best North America's ever had. That's why he's won multiple MVPs. We were talking about this off camera. He's only actually played 2 full years as a starter. This is his 3rd year, and he's beginning to make a case again if he is in that MVP conversation. I think he is so incredible, whereas Santorin for me is more like a force multiplier who can really get the rest of his team going. That's why individually I give Blaber a bigger advantage.
The thing I really love about watching Blaber play with this C9 team specifically is prior to seeing them, we were kind of concerned, right? Like, how is Blaber going to fit into this team? He's a lot more of a proactive, kind of like forward thinking, you could say, player. I was telling him the other day, the first thing I remember from him is this Elise dive at like 2019 Worlds. But he's fit so well, and they've played, like, he has played for his team, and his team has played so well to facilitate his carry potential in team fights. It's actually an incredible match, to the point where, I mean, I think most people forget that it was Blaber specifically that we were like, how is his play style going to match the rest of the players coming into this team?
And while you are the Blaber stan, you are sitting across the board of the Santorin stand.
Yes, you are.
The Santorin. Like,
I actually like that.
In the end of the day, Santorin is just incredibly flexible throughout the split. The Trundle play, that's why, you know, if you're looking at the damage percentage, he's a lot of the times playing the more facilitating side. But then we'll come in games and just have the Xin Zhao alongside Bjergsen's, you know, Zillion or something like that. And just have hard carry performances. You're right about Blaber being the hard carry since his comeuppance, right? But then I would say the most dominant jungler this split is Santorin, the highest POG votes right now so far. Every game seems to be an incredible impact that he's able to have on his team. His team feed into him, and then he, you know, delivers back. He's a multiplier and then some.
All I will say on the jungle matchup is I will be so extraordinarily angry if Cloud9 dies to a level 2 red buff cross-map gank.
If this man's
because you gotta expect it. If the Trundle comes in,
he's coming.
You best not be dying level 2, all right? You know what is coming.
The bonk is on the way to the bot lane.
The bonk is coming. All right, from here, let's hop down to AD carries. We're gonna skip over mid for the moment because I wanna talk ADCs. We can kind of fold, I think, the supports into this conversation a little bit, make it a bot lane discussion, because what I think is interesting, again, when we take a look at your guys' rankings here is that the AD carries, rather close. A slight favoritism towards Berserker for the side of Emily, slight favoritism to the side of Hansama for Mark, split down the middle for Raz. But when you fold in that support, oh boy, does this matchup get skewed with everybody going the way of CoreJJ.
Yeah, I'm also, I guess you could say, a CoreJJ stand. This is from the last time they played in that first week 1 matchup. Yes, Cloud9 were ramping, but this is something that TL's bot lane has done time and time again with CoreJJ. No matter who's beside him, they are aggressive. They can dominate your bot lane, and they can blow the game open that way. And that's something that C9's bot lane has not done a single game this split, unless I'm forgetting one. They are almost always not getting resources, and that's not a shot at them, but they just don't play through them that way. And that's why I have such a favoritism towards TL's bot lane is I've seen them individually win the game from level 1. I have not seen that out of Cloud9's bot lane yet.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's where you look at the way these two bot lanes play, which is super interesting. TL are always going to play for the 2v2 and then unleash CoreJJ onto the rest of the map whenever they're able to. So once he thinks that lane is set, he knows that Hans is going to be fine in a 1v2 once they've set up the lane from like typically as early as their level 2 push. The reason why I did favor Berserker individually is just because his team fighting has been so good. And the way the team facilitates him in a lot of these team fights, again, he plays so well with this C9 team. Obviously, another thing here is like, is he on does he get that Aphelios through? Just a reminder to people, we are in 12.5, not 12.5B yet, so a few of those changes haven't come out. But yeah, that's why I did put in the AD carry matchup, Berserker slightly favored because of his team fighting.
Yep, and it's just super conditional for me because he is, Berserker, the best Aphelios in North America. He is just an incredible player when given the support and everything, and he is a flashy player. He just goes for it, right? If he sees an angle, he will shock you with his plays. Hansama is, for me, the picture-perfect poster boy of consistency. And when I say consistency, like you put in resources to him and CoreJJ will dominate lane. Him in particular will lead you to victories, just like what we saw yesterday's game that Team Liquid had. So I put it straight down the middle because if Berserker gets the right condition, he can come in strong.
All right, just a few minutes to go before game time. I'm going to mention it, but skip over it. The mid laners, all three of you in favor of Bjergsen. Given the discussions we've had around the meta, I'm not so interested in diving too deep into it. We can evaluate them if they become a big piece of the victory, one way or the other. What I do want is predictions from all three of you. So, Raz, let's start with you, my friend. Where are you going in this tiebreak for first place, Team Liquid, Cloud9?
I like to call myself a maverick, you know?
Yeah.
What was that for?
It was already spoiled.
Oh my God, okay, fine.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to set it up.
Some maverick you are.
Look, mavericks, horses, same thing in a way, you know?
We're sheeple. We're sheeple. You're all sheeple. Okay, TL here, why?
Yes, I just think that they're just a better team across the board.
I thought more people would be C9. I predicted them to go 16-2. I can't bet against them in the most important game in the split.
Okay, fair enough.
But I think on the dive, we were talking about how both Kobe and Azael said, like, yeah, TL on paper should be the better team. But everyone, they were both feeling Cloud9 for some magical reason. I think both of them actually predicted C9.
I mean, mathematically, your vote makes sense, but Zerker's not going to be able to team fight them to a victory?
You know what's really funny is I wanted to pull this up, and I want Mark to read it because this shows that I flopped on the day. Because this is a message to Graham when he asked, one of our producers, when he asked me like, oh, what are your, percentages? And I gave them, and I was like, that being said, I'm picking C9. But then I flopped last night.
We almost had it.
This is actually the first time that
I will
bet
happily represent the C9 camp in this battle for first place.
Well, why?
1v3. Why?
Yes.
Because of Summit.
Okay,
1,000% because of somebody. He's going to run over the game, and Zerker is still there in case it goes late. Now, the moment, though, for one of these teams to pull ahead of the pack has come to be, to grapple against domestic gods. It's time for the battle between Cloud9 and Team Liquid. We're heading out to the arena, and Azalea, as we now want to call them, in their caster duo name. Enjoy.
I'll just have Bwipo, Santorin, Bjergsen, Hansama, CoreJJ. So that's probably what sets them apart. All their players are individually better than like most teams, I would say, except for us. And they're all very experienced, I would say, every single one of them. So they all obviously understand everything about what really needs to be understood and competitive right now.
Berserker and Winsome, to be honest, I watched their games, and then they haven't impressed me like too much. They're actually really just like in the like good start line, but it's not like they can compete for the top level yet. But I know they are still rookie. This is their first year of like high level games. They are not yet to be the best, but I think Summit is actually ready to be the best in the LCS even now. And I'm same as you guys. I want to see Bwipo versus Summit. I'm excited.
I think CoreJJ is probably going to be the hardest matchup for Winsome, just because I think CoreJJ understands other roles very, very well. relative to the other supports in the LCS. So he's able to be in the right places at the right time. And I think that's something that supports are very, very, not very good at doing, I would say, in general. I think that's his biggest advantage over the other supports. And I think that's leading up to the match, we have to practice very, very well to understand the support timers so that we don't get behind because of CoreJJ's random roams mid, for example, or his random roams top, his random invades with the jungler, stuff like that.
It's the biggest difference, because I think we can be rather similar. I've had moments in my career where I played very similar to him, played similar style champions and really tried to win lane, and I think it's a good way to play. I don't see the problem with it. I just think that once you reach a wall where you're going to play against better players, which he hasn't because he hasn't played internationally yet, you will realize that this style is not the way to go. The Shire gave me a good lesson in that, where it's if you are much better than your opponent, it is a very good way to play. So there's two sides of the coin, right? If you recognize that you're stronger, you should, you definitely have the right to try. By nature, because I believe that my teammates are stronger than his, I will almost always try to neutralize him. I just believe it's the best way to win. It's not that I don't like, slamming a little Lucian into Jace or, playing crazy matchups like that. I love doing it. It's just, I'm here to win.
Welcome, League of Legends esports fans, one and all, to the Teacher's Lounge, apparently, as we have been called, because I guess I'm a gym teacher, and Isaac's going to be teaching y'all about the history that we are hopefully about to witness in the making here with C9TL.
I am very, very excited, man. Yes, all three predictions from the analysts were for TL, but Dash did make a compelling argument of Summit.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty even.
Dash.
It was. It was succinct. It was to the point. And if you watch Summit play yesterday against Revenge, it's hard to argue against how damn good that guy was looking in lane. I think it's going to be a really exciting one, though, because I think when you look at it on paper, you have to favor TL because they just have so much experience. Fudge was talking about it. All 5 of their players are big names. All 5 of their players have a lot of experience playing competitive league. On the C9 side, it's more about the X factors. It's more about the pop-off performances, potentially from someone like Summit or Blaber. Blaber has been absolutely a monster. And I love the CoreJJ interview getting asked about what is C9's playstyle? And he's like, C9's playstyle? Well, I guess it's Summit or Blaber popping off. Is that a playstyle?
Yeah. Dude, I love CoreJJ's just presence in all of the conversations that he has, whether it's social media comments, interviews, or whatever. I feel like after Doublelift retired, his spirit manifested itself inside CoreJJ's body, and he carries forward the trash talk.
Carries the torch.
Yeah, exactly. The responsibility has to be borne by someone, and CoreJJ is the new trash talker.
The mantle has been passed to CoreJJ, and he has been wearing it well.
Well, let's see how our draft is going to look, because that first ban of the draft will target the support role. Renata Glask has been banned away. We got to see her a little bit yesterday. But Volibear, Hecarim, and Gnar all banned away as well.
Yeah, no Gnars allowed. Everyone watched the Gnar game yesterday. It's been Summit's most played. He's 4-1 on the pick, and he has just pretty much looked unstoppable on it. So Bwipo is a very, very flexible player. He talked in the interview about wanting to neutralize Summit. I do think it's the right way to play. If you believe that your team is going to win elsewhere on the map, if Summit is the big threat, don't take any big risks. Allow yourself to go down a little bit in farm and play to neutralize. But being that he's on red side, he doesn't necessarily have to do that, right? If you ban out some of the safe blind picks, which he has, they ban out Jace, they ban out Gnar. They're leaving lots of ADs open, but they're saying Berserker's not the threat, and we'll trade powerful ADs with things like Zeri and Jinx and all these things that are open, and we'll try to get a counter pick up on top side where we can potentially neutralize.
And we do see that Jinx that's been so popular for so long. That's locked in immediately for Cloud9. But the hover here from TL is a bit of the new hotness. The Kai'Sa showing up. Kobe talked a little bit about it yesterday with the LCK build. The popularity of going for these more AP-heavy approaches to building and playing the champion with the Muramana still there so you can have your Acacian Rain evolve. And it's very powerful.
It really is. You grab the early serrated Dirk, you get the Muramana, then you go towards Nashers. You have your double upgrades pretty early. It's very, very powerful. The poke is actually shocking, especially if you're going full Luden's build. Like if you're going full AP build, it is really, really crazy. You can get to the point where you're dealing 60-70%
it's like old
per W hit on a squishy target. And that is terrifying. So.
It's crazy stuff there. And we do often see the Nautilus picked with that Kai'Sa. Like, it's just a very strong combination. However, they've already been notified that C9 has their AD carry from that first pick. So Team Liquid doesn't feel pressured to lock in the AD carry just yet. Instead, they're going to pick up the roles that C9 hadn't already locked in for themselves. So they'll get Nautilus, they'll get Ryze, and now let's see how Cloud9 wants to do these next 2 picks before our second part of the bans come in. Also worth noting, we talked a little bit about the Gnar and Jace being banned to target Summit on the side of Cloud9. C9 also paying a respect ban, getting rid of that Zillion, taking that away from Bjergsen, knowing how proficient he is on that champion. And C9's second pick, they're going for the Tahm Kench into the Nautilus bot side.
Yeah, exactly. Keep Berserker safe, utilize that Tahm Kench to be able to devour up that Jinx, keep him safe from the Nautilus ultimate, from the Ryze, flying in on top with the Realm Warp. I always find it interesting, you know, when I'm in the queue, kind of seeing like what summoners people have, because sometimes that can give you a hint to what they might be picking. I'm not going to give anything away.
Okay, yeah. You got
I'm seeing some summoners here that maybe was giving me an idea on what they might want to play. It is going to be Viktor here from Fudge. So back to more of a kind of stock and standard type of mid laner. He did play Viktor, I want to say, in lock-in, but hasn't actually played it in the spring tournament. So yeah, 3 Viktor games in lock-in, hasn't played it during the actual spring split proper, but it is one of those ones that he was practicing a lot, you know, alongside with that Corki when it was kind of that every single time. Zeri would be exciting, and I think that the major Zeri nerfs, I believe, were on 12.5B, which is not actually on competitive yet. We're on just 12.5, not 12.5B. So Zeri going to be in there for Hansama. It is on some of those changes, though, obviously, kind of pushing more towards the standard crit builds instead of the full-on, like, Triforce build.
The bruiser type build,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, lower base AD, you can go for that build, and I have still been seeing that some in competitive, but it's not quite as powerful. The Sheen proc is a lot lower, obviously, on the Triforce with the base AD nerf, and they're just kind of like, they're trying to have some drawbacks as far as high damage output with tankiness of the build, which is kind of like what it was last patch.
Right.
So now you either have to sacrifice some damage and some scaling, going for this Triforce Titanic, or you go for more, you know, on-hit style, kind of crit marksman, but then you're obviously a lot more squishy and vulnerable.
Well, Zeri's power is the fact that she is so fast, it can be hard to lock her down without some point and click. And right now, there is no such thing on the Cloud9 squad. So Hansama could have some pretty big pop-off potential here. However, we do have a pretty rare case in draft here for this game, in that the second part of the bans have come to us now, and no jungler is locked in on either side. Very, very rare to see that. So some jungle bans are coming out here. Lee, Gragas, Xin Zhao, Poppy, all 4 jungling capable champions banned away.
But Jarvan is still up. You know, there's still things like the Trundle is still available. You know, there's Viego still available. The jungle pool is fairly deep, you know, when you move down past that S tier. So still a lot of options here. The Gragas ban feels like that's more pointing towards Bwipo, you know, to try to actually deny that as kind of like a safety pick if they're expecting him to try to neutralize. Viego is probably going to be for Santorin, but theoretically it could be for Bwipo. He did have the 1 game on it. It didn't look great, you know, compositionally. I just didn't think it fit into their team as well. This time around, they at least have a primary form of engage with the Nautilus, so I think you can kind of get away with something like the Viego a little bit more if they want to. Tryndamere going to be locked in here for Summit. Hullbreaker Tryndamere, strong as ever, but we have been seeing some more crit builds mixed in as well, even though Hullbreaker was not nerfed for melee champions. Some people are moving away from it and going straight towards Gale Force, you know, kind of for that all-in damage. Well, Trundle for Blaber, okay.
If the goal is neutralizing Summit, he has picked the champion that almost demands to be neutralized because of how it can take over the game and just ruin everything for you. How is Bwipo going to deal with this?
It's also so interesting because generally you would say if you want to neutralize, you want to go a tank, but Trundle kind of says, nah, you probably shouldn't play a tank, bro, or I'm going to become that tank in this matchup. Right. So it kind of forces you towards a fighter or towards a marksman to try to neutralize, and we are going to get Jax. Let's go.
Okay.
Jax is something I've been wanting to see more of in the LCS for so long. And there's not really a lot of early ganking power or collapsing power, you know, onto this Jax. So Jax should have a pretty good time in that side lane. Going to be so exciting to see if he can neutralize the matchup early, because if you can get past those early items, get to even an armor item or 2 on that Jax, you can outlast that Undying Rage and really take over in the side lane.
I'm so excited that we get this battle-heavy top lane matchup. This is such an exciting head-to-head between these two teams, and my eyes have been on the top lane mainly just because Summit and Bwipo are so fun to watch, and now we get the Tryndamere versus Jax flavor.
She got robbed!
Taking more time to find them!
And this is before we even take. Yes! Let's go! We're one cup down and you want to FF?
The degeneracy of Mr. Dash. More beer pong next week after LCS on Sundays. So we'll see you then, everyone.
Lights, camera, action, my friends. It's Cloud9 and Team Liquid head-to-head at the top of the table, both sitting on only 2 losses after 12 games of regular season play, and somebody's gonna lose another one here today. Oh, Blaber loses his flash before even 1 minute into the game.
Man, I actually love when people mix stuff like this in. Some people will be quick to call it, that's cheesy. You're just looking for a 5-man rush down mid with Nuatilus home guards, trying to find a flash hook. But mixing that in every once in a while keeps your opponents guessing. They have got to pay respect to the fact that you're willing to go for that aggressive play at level 1. Sometimes it works. I think it was pulled off against Suzuki in the fastest first blood the LCS had ever actually seen. So this is going to be a really exciting one. Core down a flash, Blaber down a flash as well. So we'll see if that does come into play here whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Not just Blaber, but CoreJJ's flash used to start that one off. Of course, Blaber on the Trundle here, it's not like you're looking to see Trundle make some crazy early game plays. He's not like a Lee Sin or a Nidalee or something like that. CoreJJ on the Nautilus, however, that could impact the 2v2 down there in the bottom lane.
And you have to think about if jungle intervention comes down, right? If you have a 2v2 around mid where the Trundle and the Viego show up and Trundle's missing a flash, that could be impactful. And also Trundle could actually try to go down towards bot side and gank CoreJJ knowing he has no flash. So both players are going to have to change how they're playing up a little bit here. As Winsome, no leash as Trundle was starting topside, so they have the early lane control, and we'll see how they want to play this out in the 2v2. Likely trying to get the push here, just whittling down those minions, but excited to see CoreJJ and Hansama playing it again. In these duos, they have been so impressive in the 2v2s. I think that has been such a strength for them throughout this entire split, and CoreJJ has yet to lose a game with TL in the ones that he's playing. Both their losses were actually with Ayla. This duo has been monster strong.
Well, top side here, they're already trading blows back and forth. I do want to go ahead and mention to everyone that wasn't already paying attention that the junglers started on opposite sides of the map, so that means with Trundle pathing towards bottom, we might see that gank down there like you were talking about, flashless Nautilus. Santorin could have the opportunity to influence this top lane matchup if it gets really spicy. We know that Tryndamere is one of those iconic champions for liking to all in early, so oh man, I really can't wait to see how this top lane ends up looking. Back here in mid lane, Ryze versus Viktor is probably not going to be a lane where you see a whole lot of kill threat or big pressure, big plays without a lot of jungle involvement.
Exactly. Only really if the junglers get there do you expect to see too much happening. And so much of Jax versus Tryndamere is just about the Counter-Strike usage. If you can actually get him to use the Counter-Strike and be able to E out and not get hit by that stun, then you have the opportunity to go for aggressive plays. So the usage of the Counter-Strike is so important. You have to pay respect to the fact that Tryndamere can sometimes look for those aggressive all-ins, not necessarily at level 2 or level 3 or something like that, but especially post 6. Tryndamere can all-in you under tower if you waste your Counter-Strike, so you've got to be playing really, really intelligently around that. But is Santorin up to this top side? Summit does have Ghost Flash, he has his spin, so he should be just chilling here. Santorin's going to clear out the ward, but it may mean that Summon has to play a little bit more safe now, not knowing if the jungler did stay around, and we'll see if he's going to have to kind of wait for the push to come to him.
And it's difficult, too, because the Scuttle Crabs are up right now, so he knows that Santorin does have something else to do, at least for the next 10 seconds or so. It looks like Santorin isn't going to spend any extra time up here. Yeah, Summit is very cautious of the fact that he could still be there, but Santorin has already left. He's back in the base, has his Sheen. That'll help his clear plenty. We have not seen the recall from Blaber until just now, so he'll go back to base, grab the boots, grab a Ruby Crystal. And I can't remember if it was with you or Kobe, but we've had the conversation before about how a lot of times you'll see tankier junglers like to get boots earlier on in terms of their clear to help speed them up and move them along.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the boots can be very, very effective. There's a lot of tank junglers now that are just doing lucidity as their first item, especially the pure tanks. That map movement is a very important part of it, just getting around your camps very, very quickly. Bwipo kind of slowly getting whittled down. He does have the biscuits, but he's actually out of corrupting potion charges. Yep. Of course, he has TP advantage, and with that spin through the minions, the wave will again come to him. But this is that difficulty. In the early game as Jax, you don't really have sustain built into the kit, where Tryndamere can just constantly be spamming out that Q, staying healthy on these short, chippy trades. So Bwipo will be pushed back, but if Blaber actually stops this recall, they could potentially dive this. He's going to have to be really good with the Counter-Strike here. With Blaber behind him, he's got to play it out. You just have to let the Counter-Strike run full duration after they get aggro.
There we go. Going for the stun underneath the turret. Blaber's been stunned up. Blaber dies its first blood over to Bwipo.
Oh, that is actually so well played there by Bwipo. You don't want to prop the Counter-Strike. You have to just let it go full duration because that is what's giving you that survivability. Going in then with the last second of that Counter-Strike, landing the stun onto Blaber there, who didn't quite have his flash, by the way, so it did end up actually mattering.
Yup.
Because he could have
get out of the way.
Out.
Yeah, he would have been able to avoid the last turret shot if the flash was available, but Bwipo outplays it. Let's take another look at how this one happened as Blaber went up for the play.
Yeah, so doesn't have his flash because of the level 1 5-man mid. This is the knock-on effect of that. Sometimes in games, it really does make a big difference. So Bwipo, he held the Counter-Strike here. You have to wait until they take our cower aggro to pop it. You cannot do it early, so he takes the first hit, immediate Counter-Strike, holds that till the very last second, Q's in, double Counter-Strike, flashes the spitting slash there from the Tryndamere, and then is able to get the kill with that final tower shot.
Blaber might have been able to walk out of that last turret shot. I don't know if he would have died to the minion aggro after, but he stopped and chomped a minion as that last shot was priming to fire. I don't know if he could have got out of there even without flash or not.
Yeah, I think what he was looking for was the passive heal for Trundle on the minion there, thinking, okay, that if your read is the tower shot's gonna go off, but it's 4-man top. Summit did just get 6 though, he has the ulti.
Yeah, Summit can survive this one at least for a while. They're gonna force the ulti out, and now Bwipo walks away. He was tanking the aggro. Summit still very low here. Santorin swoops right back in and picks it up. Team Liquid, they get it done through the ulti. 2-1 lead.
That was actually so well played on both sides. A lot of Tryndameres, I think, would panic ulti very early in a 1v4. He held it as long as he possibly could, but without summoners available, there just wasn't really any outplaying it because TL juggled the tower aggro perfectly there. Multiple members getting down to like 5-10% health, taking the maximum amount of shots. Of course, on the other side, there will be a cost. They are losing plates to the Jinx on the bot lane from this roam. So 1.5 plates, do go down. Obviously, you're only cashing in on that completed plate, but that is a big deal. Dying without TP is so painful. So when you are playing double combat summoners, the ganks matter that much more, and getting dove on a stacked wave is absolutely brutal. So that alone now is going to put Bwipo into a pretty nice spot here. He's up a couple hundred gold. Obviously, he got the first blood in the 1v2. His team comes up, pulls off a successful dive. He should be up a little bit of experience as a result as well. And he's going early armor. I didn't actually expect him to go towards armor items until, maybe after 1 completed item or sometimes even 2 completed items. Jax will work towards that.
Yeah.
But if your job is just to neutralize, as he said it was, early Warden's Mail is actually really intelligent because it's about the long fight in Jax versus Tryndamere. When you can get multiple instances of your Counter-Strike off in a fight, that is more effective. When you go these Glass Cannon Jax builds, Tryndamere can often, as soon as your Counter-Strike ends, he can just kill you during his ultimate, right? Like you have to be able to live through the full ultimate, and that comes down to multiple spell rotations, being able to kite out and being tanky enough that this guy can't just 100 to 0 you during the duration of his ult. So smart itemization, I think, here from Bwipo. He's gonna play it safe, because Jax definitely outscales in this matchup, especially if you are willing to build armor. You're 100% going to win late in the 1v1.
Unfortunately for Bwipo, as he was trading with Summit up there, it looked like the minion block stopped him from getting the cannon minion underneath the turret, so that one always feels a little bit bad. But total gold on the side of your screen right about now. Santorin is leading the charge, having one of those 2 kills on the side of Team Liquid and being involved, getting himself out there and making sure that he's farming up effectively on this Viego to be a powerful threat in his own right as the game goes on.
And you notice how Bwipo is now taking these aggressive trades. This is actually to keep Tryndamere off the wave so he can't build his Fury Bar. That's why he was willing to drop some CS there to aggressively trade. But Summit had the timing on the Honey Fruit and actually, gets, I don't know, 3 or 4 of them. Like, he got a significant amount. So between that and the refillable, he's right back to full. TL, though, starting this up. Summit not going to really be able to do anything about it by himself, but 3 other members here from C9 are coming. Will they be willing to take a straight-up fight? Zeri is going to have to move faster, so will be a 5v4 if TL can make it go slow.
Super Mega Death Rocket already missed. Summit's looking for the damage onto CoreJJ, and they'll find him. Cloud9's already got one, but it's going to be traded back. Support for support. Add another one to the pile as Bwipo falls over. 2 for 1, 3 for 1. Cloud9, 4 for 1. Cloud9 is about to ace Team Liquid. 9 minutes into the game. Fudge finds a little bit more damage, forces the flash back over the wall. But good Lord, Isaac, TL fell apart in that fight.
And meanwhile, in the bot lane, Berserker is fighting the tower, and guess who wins that one? It's a 1v0.
Yep.
Jinx is getting paid, while the rest of his team wins out in the 4v5. Some great team fighting there from Cloud9. Coming up absolutely huge. The Jinx ult did miss. Zeri was on the move, so if Cloud9 wants to fight, they knew they had to fight immediately. And TL engages, they go here onto Winsome, but Winsome survived for so long with the gray health. Getting back out, yes, there is a reset coming in for Santorin, but not before the Jax had already gone down. As the Counter-Strike expires, Bwipo is pretty vulnerable there. And Summit has lethal tempo, fully stacked up, pops the ulti, smacks down Bjergsen. Nice sidestep on the laser to survive there from Hansama. It is Summit coming away with that Rift Herald as well, so really big fight for them. You know, off of what was a good early few minutes for TL, where you're thinking, okay, you know, Summit has been shut down. He now has 3 kills and a Herald in pocket.
Oh, man.
So he can actually get solo gold potentially on all of these plates and really give himself, you know, another kill's worth of gold. He's been slingshot ahead of Bwipo.
And when you look at the build, it's what you were talking about with the Tryndamere, with Hullbreaker receiving nerfs.
Yeah.
Players are just deciding, okay, well, maybe that's not worth it. Let's just go for the Gale Force instead. Let's just go for more of that extra mobility, the execution power, too.
Exactly.
Gale Force's active is an ability. It is not blocked by Counter-Strike.
And to me, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're just playing for push, you know, you can just go Hullbreaker, but if you want to actually play to kill people, Gale Force, that completion, makes you much more dangerous, especially when you're talking about 5v5. If you're going to group ever, you lose the Hullbreaker passive, and having that gap closer, you know, kind of reduces your reliance on the flash, which is one of the problems Tryndamere often has in teamfight, is you're so reliant on the flash against any champion that has dash. But they're going for Bwipo now. Nice Counter-Strike.
Bwipo has used the Counter-Strike. He's got the stun, but now he's got to be careful. Blaber going in. Subjugate's been used, but Santorin's ready to strike back. They know that Tryndamere still has the ulti, so there's no point in trying to use a Viego ult or surprise burst him, anything there.
Do you have Counter-Strike?
Bwipo keeps the fight going. He has the Counter-Strike still, but he's got 100 HP. I don't like that call. Summit picks up a freebie.
Yeah, way overestimating himself there. You know, I think what he was hoping for was just the immediate proc of the ultimate when he went in on Summit, but Summit has just had such a good read of the damage thresholds. Yeah, he is not getting scared whatsoever. He knows exactly how much damage you're going to do with that empowered W, you know, from the Jax with the Sheen. He holds on to it. He doesn't pop the ult early. So yeah, Bwipo has his Counter-Strike, but the Counter-Strike does not last as long as the entire Tryndamere ulti. Now this means the whole tower will go down. TL in shambles on the top side here. As Summit, I mean, Dash had it right, man. His analysis is looking good. You can have all your reasons in the world for TL, but C9 only needs one, and it's Summit.
Who would be more correct? An established desk of 3, like, powerful-minded analysts or one dashy boy with some faith in a top laner for Cloud9? Summit is running over the game right now. He's got the Gale Force. 100% kill participation as a top laner. If you're talking about
Tryndamere.
If you're talking about top lane as an island, everybody booked one-way flights there for a vacation. It has been all about that top part of the map so far. And Cloud9's up over 3,000 gold 13 minutes into the game. TL has got to somehow recover this position.
Yeah, it's rough, man. You know, you got to play to slow it down now, but C9 is going to be playing with some pace. They are very strong at this point in the game. Summit is moving around the map. He's just not going to AFK split push. They're going to look for a dive on bot side. He doesn't quite have the ulti, though.
CoreJJ and stopwatch. Summit's going to be tanking some damage, but CoreJJ's already down. Summit, he's gone. He was not able to ult because the cooldown was just barely not ready. That was over aggro from C9. Yes, they got their kill, but TL punishes.
Yeah, TL do punish big time. You know, I think C9 was expecting that TL would pay them more respect and just be backing off, looking for the retreat in that situation. But with Santorin around, they're able to punish. They get the kill, they get the shutdown. This is also buying free time for Bwipo up on the top side. Yeah, he's still going to be down a lot of kills, but at the very least, he gets the full reset the wave. There's no one up there to actually answer. Fudge doesn't have TP, and Summit doesn't have TP, obviously, even taken. So you're going to lose minions. You're going to lose some tower damage here. Bwipo instead just going to take the quick reset. But he should be very soon approaching his mythic if he doesn't have it quite yet.
And this
that's gonna be a big deal.
Brings up the conversation that we've had before about these top laners like Tryndamere, these big carries, right? And when you should just play more selfishly, stay in your lane, play for the 1v1, keep dominating that, versus the traditional thinking of, oh, I should help the team, I should bring my lead elsewhere. Trying to bring that lead elsewhere this time actually halved the lead. It was not the right call. So I'm curious how that's going to change or maybe stay the same as we go forward, as Summit seems to not be shy about being ready to help the rest of the squad.
No, absolutely not. I mean, you know, he's happy to make those moves, and in this case, I think, you know, he assumed, I think, that TL would pay the respect of him having the ulti, but either TL had the read or whatever happened. They didn't quite have that ultimate available. Does get punished now. He has no spinning slash, so they're going to have to use the Gale Force in retreat.
Yep.
But it can also be one of those situations where there is pressure when you're playing against Jax. Like, even though Tryndamere is a great split pusher, Jax kind of just does the 1v1 thing better, right? You know, when you get tanky, when you get on multiple items, you have the additional armor, you know, from the Grandmaster's Might. From that ultimate, plus Counter-Strike is just immuning all of these auto attacks coming through from Tryndamere. So when you get to that point where you can outlast, it becomes so hard for Tryndamere in that 1v1. So it could be a case where somebody's feeling a little bit of pressure to make good on his lead now, to move around the map and try to get some of his other members fed so that they can take over the rest of the game when he can no longer beat that Jax.
We got a fight down here in bottom lane. Hansama popping the ulti and going in very aggressively, but the super mega death rocket takes him low enough for the burn from Winsome to take him out. C9 looking for another one here. Santorin tries to get away, but Fudge has the laser to stop him in his tracks. C9 pick up 2.
Man, it's an absolute bloodbath. The two top teams in the league. 14 kills in 16 minutes. It's a banger so far.
I love it.
Everyone is scrapping back and forth here. You know, oozing confidence in these plays, feeling like they're going to be able to outplay their opponents, that they're going to be able to win out in all of these little skirmishes, but it has been very back and forth thus far.
If I wanted to watch Farming Simulator 2022, I'd be worried about the tractor meta. I want to watch PvP, and we are getting it here in this game, and we aren't going to stop anytime soon. Bwipo coming down there, trying to interfere with C9 taking their second Rift Herald. They're going to go ahead and secure it anyway. Once again, it'll be Summit picking up the eye.
Yep, Summit. I can't even remember the last time I saw a top laner get 2 Rift Heralds. Like
I know. I can't remember the last time I saw him get 1.
Yeah, that feels good. I mean, there's a lot of firsts here. Tryndamere having more kill participation than just on the person in his lane. Like, that's never happened before either.
Yup. We got some wild happenings here today, but Cloud9 still maintains a 3,000 gold lead. Bwipo, no fear dealing with Summit up here. Ever since Summit went down bottom and Bwipo was able to get some of that farm, get some of that damage under the turret, this Jax is plenty confident moving forward here.
So anytime the Tryndamere doesn't have rage, you can just leap strike in, you hit him with the W, you get this really quick trade, especially if you have your ulti passive ready on the Jax. You look for these really quick trades where you try to chip him down and deny access to the wave so he can't stack up the rage bar. Because if he doesn't have rage, he can't look for an all-in. And as long as you do not commit the Counter-Strike to that trade, there's not a lot of recourse for the Tryndamere. Because if he doesn't spin away, then you can actually commit the Counter-Strike, right? So Bwipo's just looking for these quick trades, only committing the Counter-Strike when Tryndamere is fully locked into that fight. But TL, again, moving towards topside. You can see C9, though, anticipating this. They are going to respond this time around. 3-4 members heading top.
Okay. I mean, TL brought some damage there. Yeah, Summit got taken low. But again, going back to your point about his patience and his discipline with his ulti, they're not getting the ult out of Summit unless they would absolutely have lethal damage. And Summit recognized there's no way they burst him down there.
And this is great for TL because they get the TP off Fudge. Bjergsen is pushing bot. He can probably take that tower, and they're going for a kill now.
Oh, Fudge didn't have a chance. Shut down by Bwipo as the C9 mid laner sticks around too long.
They get the kill top. They get the tower bottom from Bjergsen, who was on the push. Berserker getting something back, though. Both teams playing actively through these side lanes. It's the push and pull, trying to draw extra members to one spot of the map, and they're always punishing elsewhere. Throughout this whole game, we've seen these two teams going back and forth. Berserker taking the tower mid here. When TL was committing heavily towards that Rift Herald fight earlier, he's pushing that tower bottom, and now Summit heading back towards bot side to cover that push from Bjergsen. He's got a Herald of his own, so this first tower is dead. We'll see if he can actually walk it in for a charge on the second. I think that's what they're going to go for here, with Blaber and Winsome hovering. They want to get that second push, and Bwipo, though, he's committing to the fight.
Bwipo is so strong in this 1v1. Bwipo has a Trinity Force and a Frozen Heart. He can do so much damage. He jumps in with the counter-strike, ready to go once more, has to back off. Winsome tries to get that last tongue lash to take Bwipo out, but it won't happen. The Herald, however, makes its way into the second turret. So that mission that they came down here for is accomplished.
It is successful. They do force out the ulti, but Cloud9 will retreat back to the dragon, so it's one dragon apiece here. Bwipo just going straight Frozen Heart second, which I actually really like. The CDR is so valuable here. In this matchup, it's about, as I've said, getting the multiple rotations of spells out there, being able to leap strike in, get a low cooldown to hop back out. Multiple counter strikes almost always is going to guarantee you a fight win. Santorin, though, steals this away. Will he continue the fight? Doesn't look like it, but yeah, the armor is going to help him survive. Maybe moving towards like Merc Shreds or something here as well. I'm curious if Bwipo's just going to go Trinity Force full tank. More commonly I do see like 2 kind of dueling items and then into tank.
Right.
But you can do hybrid builds. You can just go pure tank as well, because with just that Triforce and your innate tankiness as jacked with the Counter-Strike with the ulti, we saw that in action. You live through that ultimate from Tryndamere, then you go back in and try to finish it off.
Yeah, once Tryndamere with ulti versus no ulti is 2 entirely different champions, right? No ulti Tryndamere has to be so respectful of everything around him. He's not durable. He can't stack up the Fury to have meaningful heals like you were talking about, and things become difficult. We'll continue tracking Bwipo and how well he's able to threaten any sort of lethal damage on Summit as our game moves forward. But I do want to talk about Fudge as well, because Fudge currently sitting on 2-1 and 4. That death up in the top lane was actually the first time he's fallen this entire game, and they're going to need him to be powerful in this game like you were talking about with Summit moving around the map trying to get everybody else ahead, because if eventually Tryndamere cannot win the game for you through that split push, your team fighting's got to be on point. So I'll be looking at Fudge in these fights for clutch lasers and good ulti placements.
Yep, him as well as Berserker. That's kind of the late game win condition here, when you look towards the 5v5. Because C9 has not just like all in on side lane. Yes, they did go for Tryndamere, but you have Tahm, Kench, Trundle, Viktor, and Jinx. That is an incredibly powerful core 4 for the 5v5. You can even just ult the Jax in this team fight, and you're going to steal a lot of tankiness from him. And Hansama, he is going the Triforce Titanic build. This one does not scale nearly as well as a crit build from Jinx with those base AD nerfs. Zeri does fall off more than she did before.
And the reason that I mentioned Fudge specifically is because of the fact that Cloud9's comp has these 2 massive physical damage threats in the Tryndamere and the Jinx. Trundle, also another physical damage threat of at least moderate severity with the Trinity Force in inventory.
Yeah.
Fudge is the only AP, right? He's the guy that they're not going to be itemizing towards. What does Frozen Heart do against Magic? A big old donut. That's why it's so important for me, from my point of view, to look at how Fudge is stacking up.
And you just look at the itemization on Santorin and Bwipo, right? Death Dance, Tabbies, Frozen Heart on the top side. It's a lot of armor actually already being purchased up there. So, definitely agree. There is that extra pressure on Fudge to be able to get that damage done, and Counter-Strike doesn't keep you safe from lasers, unfortunately.
Nope. Well, TL has brought this game back to a much closer game state from the 3,500 it was earlier. Just about a 1K lead here for C9, as TL is moving through the Cloud9 red side jungle, putting down some wards, trying to sweep out some of their own. Of course, you can see a ward from each team placed in that red buff pit, where there is no red buff right now. We got about 2 minutes before the next Drake spawn, so I like the fact that Team Liquid is trying to control this bottom side jungle quadrant, trying to make sure that Cloud9 has to think twice every time they move into any territory close to this pit.
TL has been doing a good job of that, and you can see this kind of forward vision. It's this kind of section on the map that they're trying to get some sort of coverage for, and C9's going to be trying to battle to clear that out. That is how you enable your split pusher. When you contrast that on the other side of the map, this whole top jungle area, there's nothing up there really as far as vision for C9. So Summit can really only push to the river and then back off over and over. You cannot try to push very aggressively in. And the Ryze is going to be difficult for him to actually finish off as well, because this is also a tank Ryze. He's going to be going Frozen Heart here too. He has Phased Rush to actually remove the Mocking Shout. That's slow. So there is a high potential to just be able to kite out with the Everfrost and Frozen Heart, even if you can't kill the Tryndamere in the 1v1. Bjergsen should be able to withstand. So I think TL are very well set up to actually deal with Summit in the side lanes from this point.
Well, as we talk about kiting, I do need to mention that the Navori Quick Blades are completed for Summit, and this is one of those items that causes people to come dangerously close to ripping their hair out against Tryndamere sometimes, as he just seems to auto-attack, spin, auto-attack, spin. The cooldown reduction on this thing is really incredible, coupled with the
So here's the thing, when you're playing against Ryze, you can never auto-attack him, as we got.
You can't auto-attack spin if you can't auto-attack.
All you can do is spin and then wait.
Well, now Summit's going to get jumped on here with the Realm War. Bjergsen and the Minion Boys show up, but the rest of the team's not there in time to shut them down. So those poor little minions are just going to get cleaned up instead, as Team Liquid will continue sitting down vision, trying to push forward, choke Cloud9 out of more of the map, and you can see that gold lead is down to 3 digits now. TL are controlling things for the time being.
Yep, and they're going to be able to knock down this tower as well, and that's going to get even smaller there. Bwipo is going towards Death Dance, which I have a suspicion he may be. I think it's going to be almost impossible for Summit to actually get a pure 1v1 anymore. So for C9, it's going to become about that objective game. It's going to become about the 5v5, where I still do think they have the edge. As Bwipo gets more ADR, like everyone thinks of Jax as a split pusher, but when you get high in levels, when you have a lot of points in your skills, when you have a lot of CDR, you can start to team fight, because it becomes very difficult to actually kite out a Jax when the leap strike is really low cooldown. Like, it's already at 4.4 seconds. So it's like, yeah, he leap strikes in, he pops the counter strike. The counter strike is an under 5-second cooldown at this point as well. I don't think it starts cooling down until the counter strike expires, but still, like, you can actually get multiple leap strikes off to where you're chasing down someone like Berserker, even if they have a defensive flash, or even if they do get devoured up by that Tahm Kench, you can start to have a lot more power in the later stages of the game in those 5v5s.
Yeah, powerful farmed up Jax is a nightmare for these immobile AD carries that have to deal with him running at him. So, and you can see with the Caulfield's Warhammer in inventory, Bwipo is going to continue building towards more of those bruiser style itemizations. Cloud9 was coming bottom to potentially collapse on the TL top laner, but since Bjergsen was nearby to shadow him, they sort of have that early alert, and TL's able to disengage in time. So let me ask you this, Azael. With Cloud9 having now lost the lead that they had built up for themselves, with the game being at a very even game state, what do you think we really need to see here from either one of these teams? Who should be the first one to move next in order to have the best shot to win here?
I mean, I think Cloud9 is pretty happy stacking dragons. If they can grab the next dragon for themselves and try to force TL to come to them, because I actually believe they have a really powerful 5v5 setup here. Yes, we're talking a lot about side lanes because there's Tryndamere, Ryze, and Jax in the game. But I think C9 should be happy to fight straight up in a 5v5. You have Jinx, Viktor, you have a lot of protection with the Trundle and this Tahm Kench, so I think they just want to keep going with this game plan, continue pushing out lanes. As long as you're capturing the objectives, TL will eventually be forced to 5v5 you, and I think that's where Cloud9 is going to try to look to win. For TL, I think it's more about not allowing them to get to that point by delaying them from getting towards Soul or being able to threaten a Baron, by constantly having the waves pushed, by constantly having pressure in the side lanes, and by stealing away a dragon here or there to really delay the stacking towards Soul.
The Soul being infernal as well just adds a little bit of extra heat to it with how much damage that thing can bring into a fight, especially when you have the amount of range that Cloud9 has with both Viktor and Jinx on the squad. It means that the time that it takes to get that next proc is not going to matter too much, because they'll be able to apply that proc whenever it's ready, right? Long-range rocket, you've got a laser from 1,000 units away or whatever. But back here in mid, Hans also still farming up here on Zeri, has that Trinity, has that Titanic like you were talking about, the build that receives some nerfs, but he's still heading towards that one. Still 1-1 and 2 here on this champion. Both of the AD carries, man, around 300 CS. They have been farming it up.
Yeah, they have absolutely been farming at a pretty absurd rate there. Berserker, he's going to be going IE 4th, so he's going to spike really, really hard when he does actually hit that with 80% crit and the IE completion. Very high DPS build already, though. Went for the LDR, knowing there's going to be a lot of armor on the other side. I think that's a pretty smart build, and PD is, by far the highest DPS Zeal item. It's, obviously much higher straight-up DPS if you're auto-attacking than something like the Rapid Fire, because you have that passive stacked up. So really, really high damage build here. Same thing for Fudge, going towards Shadow Flame, going Void Staff third. He is going to have a tremendous amount of damage here in the tank, and Bwipo's got to be sitting on a lot of gold because he's in bottom forever. Yeah, he's over 2,000 gold, so I'm expecting him to go Death Dance, but I'll be curious to see where he takes us.
And I really like the fact that Phantom Dancer was the call here for Berserker, because when I see the rapid fire cannon build, I look at that as, okay, you're just trying to be able to get the rocket off on whoever you need to hit to get your first reset and get excited. Yeah, but on the side of TL, you have 2 melee carries that are going to be jumping in, an AD carry that often gets in the mix of everything, a melee support, and a short-range mid laner. Like, I don't see rapid fire cannon being necessary to apply rocket rockets to dudes in this game.
Yeah, I totally agree. Plus, I don't think that there's anyone that you just get that one crit on and the fight's over, because everyone's pretty damn tanky, right? There's a fair bit of armor on the Viego. Jax is going to be tanky. He did go Death Dance as expected, so really powerful for the side lane. It's a tank Ryze. It's a Nuatilus. Like, everyone has some armor and some beefiness. Even the Zeri has HP built up. Going the buffed Blade of the Rune King, third there. So that's a bit of an interesting build, a departure from what we used to see in the past. Obviously, this has been changed on the most recent patch. So going to be excited to see how it does pan out, but it's really slowed down the pace of the game over the last, say, 10, 12 minutes. But Bwipo getting caught here.
Berserker just delivers the death and the super mega death rocket, and now CoreJJ's got to try to get away. Cloud9 have already found one pick, and they're about to get two. Double kill over to Berserker. The man's getting excited, and he just can't fight it. Team Liquid running away, only 3 left alive. C9 control the map. C9 head over to Baron.
Yeah, they're going to go into the Baron right now. Santorin does have Flash. He does have Smite. They have a chance to try to steal this. Bjergsen basing, so he's probably going to TP back. We'll see if they want to try to contest this. It's going down quickly, though.
It is burning, man. Over the wall goes Winsome. He's going to try to zone Santorin away, make sure there's no flip for this, and C9 get Baron.
Yeah, that's just really well played. He does spend his summoners to do it. TL are trying to rush to the dragon, but C9 say, no, you don't get this either. Fudge comes down, steals away that crab, and they're going to just TP to secure themselves this dragon as well. Moving to Soul Point. Really smart stuff here from C9, getting the maximum off of that pick onto Bwipo, who got caught out. Has a lot of armor, but not a lot of MR, and Fudge absolutely roasted him there. It is now Baron. It is now Soul Point. Cloud9 are completely set up for success, and it's all off of this play. Bwipo hopping in. I don't think he expected there to be actually a ward in that rush, and he should have warded over, waited to see, and then gone. Instead, he just straight up hops in to try to clear it out. I think he was hoping, oh, I can do this sneaky little flank play where I kind of jump into this side brush, and then Cloud9 maybe overextend and they punish them. But now Blaber and Hansama going in 1v1. You don't want this one, Blaber.
Yeah, this is not a Trundle favored matchup here. Hans just going to kite him out, but Berserker, we're talking about kiting out Bwipo. Back-to-back mistakes here, back-to-back unneeded deaths. Hansama now hops, skips, jumps over the wall, tries to get away from Summit. Summit's going to continue that chase, but Hans can kite it out. He's got CoreJJ waiting nearby to try to protect him. Nice rocket, nice flash, nice follow, nice kill from Cloud9. CoreJJ wants to try to get out of here now. He's got no way to stand and fight. Honestly, Azael, League of Legends is one of those games where sometimes it doesn't matter how well you've played 95% of the game, because a single mistake can cost you so much. And that Bwipo death in River that led to the Soul Point, that led to the Baron, it has led to this. As Blaber's now here in the bottom lane.
They're trying to end right now.
He's probably going to die to Bjergsen, but the rest of the team's already back in the base.
That's
Cloud9, they're knocking it over. They're going for the win. Santorin comes in trying to stop him. Summit, he still has the endless rage. And C9 takes out Team Liquid.
What an explosive finish. Cloud9 get the maximum from the pick there onto Bwipo. And even at the end, Trundle doesn't need to win that 1v1. All he needs to do is actually stop Bjergsen from getting back to the base, because Hans was dead, Bwipo was dead. Your jungler and support cannot stop that push. Ryze needed to be there. So Blaber just acts as the sacrificial lamb, chasing Bjergsen, stopping the recall there, so that Berserker is on the push, can finish off the game. Cloud9 sit alone at the top of the table here, taking down Team Liquid, moving to 11-2. And what an exciting game it was.
I was so happy with the way the game went. We got to see like high tempo gameplay, both teams trying to make moves, trades back and forth on the top side. We got a team fight that nearly ended in an ace for first Herald, right? Like, there was so much going on in this game, but then the sins of the Bwipo are the sins of the team, and Cloud9 purified them in fire on that one. As soon as they got that Baron, translating it over to the Soul Point, going straight down mid lane, it just ended in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bwipo got punished so hard for that. I'm sure he's going to want that one back. You know, I think he was trying to look for some sort of a flank angle, jumping in on his pink ward, but he was spotted on vision and then kind of just brazenly walked forward to clear out the pink, gets caught out there, goes down, they lose Baron, they TP for the dragon, they're now at Soul Point, and then from there, it just felt like Cloud9 were cruising, because they had gotten into this zone where they're scaling up. The Viktor and the Jinx are in supreme comfort in this slow pace of the game. They get a pick, and they just take absolutely everything. We can see this 1v1 one more time as Bwipo flashes in with the counter-strike, but couldn't land it, and Berserker just kiting him out there, got enough space built that he gets the chompers down, and Bwipo has to land that counter-strike. He has to leap in. It's about to expire, so he leaps right into the chompers, and then on the top side, Summit here, finding Hansama. Yeah, he can jump over the wall, but only one time. The ultimate from Berserker, cross map, catches him.
Good.
Berserker solo kills Bwipo, hits the rocket, cross map onto Hansama to alley-oop Summit for the slam dunk there, gets that assist for the kill, and then meanwhile, it's Trundle's only job. Do not let Ryze get to the base. It's only Ryze that can stop us.
Yeah.
If Blaber dies, who cares? That doesn't matter at this point. So beautifully finished out there by Cloud9.
Awesome game to start off the day, and after a top-of-the-table banger, we are joining LeTigress and Cloud9's Winsome for a Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you, Captain Flowers. This game definitely delivered, and for the first time on the LCS stage, I am joined by support for Cloud9, Winsome. I just want to know, how has your time been in the LCS?
Oh, it's very exciting, and it's when I come first, it's very nervous, but I think it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff so far.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
This was a great game against Team Liquid for first place.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Oh my god. Oh my god, it's so good. And okay, we can try to go MSI. Yeah, it's very, very good, grateful, and I'm proud of my teammates. Yeah, it's very awesome. Yeah.
I was already on MSI.
Yeah.
Speaking of teammates, how would you describe your team of Cloud9?
Describe. Okay, so Summit we tweet today. He tried.
Yeah.
Blue or white, yeah. It's very good feeling too, yeah.
Good heights, good feelings from Cloud9.
Yeah.
Thank you, Winsome, for the interview. Great to hear from you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
First time, Winsome on stage. Cloud9 standing on by with all of the energy that you can imagine. We have more LCS to come, everyone. What a way to start off the day. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
Match of the week. Two top lane titans. Pick me, Orn.
Cloud9's already got one, but it's going to be traded back. Support for support. Add another one to the pile as Bwipo falls over. 2 for 1, 3 for 1, Cloud9, 4 for 1, Cloud9.
But Bwipo getting caught here.
Berserker just delivers the death and the super mega death rocket, and now CoreJJ's got to try to get away. Cloud9 have already found one pick, and they're about to get two. Double kill over to Berserker. The man's getting excited, and he just can't fight it. Team Liquid running away, only 3 left alive. C9 control the map. C9 head over to Baron.